course, in International Week, when the home nations play, as they will do in the Euro qualifiers, the pundits will be out in force, telling us what they think of the first half, who did what they might have to do in the second half. Now, of course, that's at international level. At club level, the pundits do exactly the same, but sometimes being a pundit, you've got to have a thicker skin than you might thought you'd have to have. Roy Keane allegedly headbutted at the Arsenal-Manchester United game last weekend. And of course, it goes without saying, other pundits have found themselves in hot water as well. Not of their own making, but they find themselves in about a soapy bubble. Chris Sutton's been speaking about this. Somebody tried to attack me before in a hotel bar. I've had a death threat. I've had a car mount the pavement and career towards me. I've been abused quite badly. He says, I broadcast in a way where I try to be honest. Not everyone agrees with my opinion, but I think you'll know this yourself as a broadcaster. You have to have a thick skin. One such person is Arsenal invincible Martin Keown. Martin, have you been in a spot of... or being put in a corner, if you like, by as a pundit, by people who necessarily didn't like what you said?
Do you know, firstly, I just want to say, I feel sorry. I'm sorry that Roy Keane was subjected to what he was subjected to at my club, because that is my club, and I'm really disappointed that happened. Am I surprised? No, because there are some difficult situations that you encounter if you've been a former player, where people can't separate you from being on the pitch in an event that might have happened some 20 years ago. So, you know, I've had the odd incident. I must say, people now, though, particularly when I go to Old Trafford, are mostly very respectful. Not so much maybe if I go to the London Stadium, where people have, you know, tried to insult you. It happens a little bit. Stamford Bridge, amazing. Really respectful. The same that if I go to the Etihad, all those major grounds. Occasionally, I find on a match day, being on a train, don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to be in harm's way. And I've had situations where I stepped onto a train at Milton Keynes, a game at Old Trafford between Spurs and Manchester United. Honestly, there was nowhere safe for me to go on that train. Barracked, insulted, threatened, you name it, until two wonderful women rescued me and brought me to somewhere of safety on the train. But I can tell you, it wasn't a great.
When was this, Martin?
Oh, it was a few years ago. So I rarely do I now step on a train on a match day.
But you genuinely feared for your own safety.
Well, there wasn't anywhere safe to go. Do you know? So you know, but of course you think of the history of Manchester United and Spurs. For me, as an Arsenal player, stepping onto that, it was, you know, I was fair game. So I think it's rare that it happens, but it does happen, and I do feel sorry for Roy Keane to be subjected to that, where people just, I don't know what happened in that incident. Of course, we can't speculate, but it is a shame. But generally, people show you a great deal of respect, and we can talk about the good times and the good old days, and it's a nice conversation, because up and down the country I see some wonderful people, both from all manner of clubs and up and down. But just occasionally, when drink is had, when the wrong group is together, you're in trouble. So I advise people, really don't put yourself in those situations. I mean, it's something I try to. I mean, I'm not doing co-coms currently at the moment, because I can't really be sure I'm going to get there safely. And I think it's, as much as I love doing that job.
Martin, say that again. When you travel, you're not really sure that you're going to travel safely.
I'm not certain that I can get there properly. If I assess it and I think, okay, that's not a good place for me to go, then I won't go. I'll stay away. I'll stay away.
Would you go to the London Stadium?
That might be tricky, but you know, somebody might have to drop me off. But it's not in the budget, then I don't go.
I mean, you've told me about some West Ham fans. I'm a minority of them, albeit.
I don't mind the banter with West Ham fans.
You told me one or two things about what they call it. They're morons. I mean, I've encountered a few along the way as well.
Yeah, but that's unfair.
No, a tiny minority, I'm saying West Ham fans are great. I love them. And the club's great.
I could not walk down the Tottenham High Street at any point, really, down on a match day. There's no way that I would do that, get off the tube. I lived in digs down there. I know the situation. I know that fans are around. I know it's a lively walk there. I wouldn't do it. It's no point. And if it's not then in the budget for me to go dropped off at the door, I won't go. And it's a shame because I really would love to go there and commentate because it's a wonderful stadium.
Yeah.
But I just feel a little bit nervous about going there.
It saddens me greatly to hear that, Simon, that someone like Martin and his contribution to the game and the level that you played at, Martin, that there are times that if you travelled about, you'd be fearful. You know, his own safety would come into question. I mean, I've had it from, I told you before England-Denmark, the semi-final of the Euros, and some kind customer came up and poured a full pint of beer over me and had a serious tilt at me. In actual fact, I broke away from the other people I was with and walked up to him and said, "Why on earth would you do that?" And he couldn't answer me. And I asked him again, and he couldn't answer me. And then he came away with some seriously nasty stuff. Did it bother me? No. Not really. I actually felt sorry for the individual. It's pathetic, but it goes on. I've even years ago, people with an imaginary gun have pointing it at my head. I find it ridiculous that things like that happen. Do I fear? Am I in fear of it? No, never. Because it goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I think this characterisation of this conversation, I mean, is probably not really about punditry. It's about these boys as players and the tribalism that came with it.
Yeah, but Martin's a good pundit.
Oh no,
and he shouldn't have to take any nonsense.
Their ire and their rancour is not about him as a pundit. They're about the relationship that they had with him as a player and the things that he did on the pitch that probably superseded the outcomes that they wanted in terms of he was playing for a better side. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, with the nature of tribalism, with the emotivity that this sport thrives and survives on, you're going to have this very small minority of people that behave in a fashion that's not socially acceptable.
Have you had it in some boxing crowds?
Yeah. Well, more recently, because of the silly little arguments with that Wally Eddie Hearn, where people are just divisive and they've got their own little view about who is right and who is wrong. So, and of course, you know, a few people wanted to point out to me in the most flattering of terms how wrong I was about the charlatan comment of Chris Eubank.
But I've been with you. That doesn't bother you?
No, God, no. And it was, for me, it was worse when I was an owner of a football club. I used to get proper abuse from fans because there was, you know, because of the nature of my personality, because I'd said things about football clubs like Birmingham and Charlton and God knows whatever else. There were very difficult moments with security guards getting stabbed because they were looking after me and bottles getting thrown at me and God knows whatever else. But the question was characterised around the hard skin of punditry. And I think that Martin is an excellent pundit.
Me too.
And I think that I think Roy Keane is an excellent pundit. And I don't think anybody is taking exception to Roy Keane as a pundit or Martin Keown as a pundit. They're using whatever in the back of their Neanderthal minds as a justification because once upon a time these were top footballers that affected outcomes for the teams that they supported and using that as their excuse for some Cro-Magnon behaviour. So
they got it as ex-players. You got it as an ex-owner. Why am I getting it?
Because you're associated with us.
We're at 12:30.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.